Welcome back to the Plus Money Podcast, your home for the best soccer bets in 15 minutes or less. We are down into the home stretch of the season. We got an interesting slate for the weekend. It's for the first time in what feels like months, maybe years. I don't love the slate this weekend. I'll find a way. I will find a way for you guys, as always. We're coming off a European midweek. We got a tricky slate. I made a call to the bullpen. I'm Andrew Passaro. Joining me this week is Nick Dianni. You can follow him on Twitter at Nick Dianni. You can follow his podcast at Kicks Picks Pod. It's great to have you back. We've been conversing all week.
Always.
European slate has been tricky. Um, Champions League quarterfinals, honestly, four of the best games we've gotten all season. Bananas. Um, and it's one of those weekends where it's like I'm looking at the board, and I guess Arsenal Aston Villa is the best game of the weekend in the Premier League.
Has to be.
Uh, I I still kind of think my lean is Arsenal and under 3.5 is still a plus number, and I'm going to take that because I think they're just going to shut it down. They didn't do that against Bayern this week in the midweek and broke my heart, but that's fine. I'm in a weird spot with Arsenal where I want them to go as far in the Champions League as possible without winning it. Same thing with Manchester City, but I also have a Real Madrid future. I just everything right now. Um, but let's get into the picks. We are
Let's
going
do
to
it.
start 10 a.m. early. Or I guess that is early, whatever. 10 a.m. Brentford taking on Sheffield. Um, the over 3.5 has hit in 13 out of the last 14
Whoa.
Sheffield United games. It's hit in five straight. This is a team that has no back line. And I don't need to tell you that Brentford also has no back line. I don't have a lean here either way. I think this is 2-2 at the end of the day, and and both teams walk home without the points. I personally, as someone who has a ticket on Sheffield to finish bottom, would love a Brentford 3-1 win here. And I get 3 points. Sheffield gets none. Um, the over 3.5 is at plus 128, which isn't a crazy number. I don't love it, which is why, and you have taught me this very well. If you want to take it down to over 3 at minus 130, you're there's still value at minus
Yep.
130. So you got to look at different books. Obviously, FanDuel
Yep.
doesn't have over 3. It only has halves, so you got to go to DraftKings or other books. Um, but I think with a stat like that for Sheffield that has like a minus 50 goal differential on the season, um, and you have attackers and Tony and Wissa and everybody else at Brentford that can score, I think we're gonna hit that total once again.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a good shout. It's good advice. If anybody's not familiar with those even number totals, you usually will find it under Asian handicap or Asian total. So, as Andrew said, check your books, shop around. I'm always willing to give up a little bit of juice to get that protection. I think that's a solid play. I think this is going to be a wide open match. I think it's going to be a little bit of a cagey match. I think the card totals in this one are very playable. Total for the game is 4.5. It's at plus 125 over. Brentford team total cards over 1.5 minus 120. I just can't imagine there's a scenario where there's a Brentford game and they don't get two cards. So that's really where I'm kind of going with this one. Also with the scoring, and this is not, eh, man, you know me well enough. I don't like to advocate for these numbers for anytime goal scorer, but Ivan Toney is even money, and that just seems like a sure thing. I don't know. I don't know how the books came up with this, other than there's going to be more than 4 goals in this game or more than 3.5 goals. So, do you trust Tony against a pretty terrible back line? I think you have to.
All you have to hope for
So
is a penalty. You know what I mean?
pretty much.
Like he doesn't even have to score in the game. He just has to. I mean, yes, he's scoring the game, but he doesn't even have to score in open play. Like Sheffield can just take out a Brentford player at the right time, and like he's automatic. Like
I think this is a really good spot for him. So just something to consider for the people.
yeah. All right, we are going to move to Bournemouth, Manchester United, 12:30, the premier game, and I actually think this is going to be a fun one. For those of you who forgot, because I didn't, Bournemouth slapped Manchester United around in the reverse fixture. They won 3-0 at Old Trafford. Could have been 4. It almost was 4. I think Solanke was offsides or there was a foul in the buildup
Yeah.
to close out his hat trick. Um, I'm going to the place that we've gone a lot of times on this podcast when it comes to Manchester United. We're going to the corner market. All right. But I did some math. And I will say, shout out my little brother. He is the math major in the family. So I hope I did my math correct. I went to a couple different websites. No free ads, but FBref is great for football stats. On the season in the Premier League only, Manchester United have won 188 corners and they have given up 234. That is a total of 422 corners in, I think, 32 games. They are averaging 13.18 corners per game in their last 10 EPL matches. Are you ready for this? 17, 15, 18, 13, 17, 10, 19, 14, 18, 13 corners. They're giving up the most shots in the Premier League. We're laddering corners, folks. Over 11.5 is at minus 116. Over 12.5 plus 136. Over 13.5 plus 215. Over 14.5 is plus 340. And then let's go to the Bournemouth side of things because they're no slouch either. 164, 174 against, 334 total on the season, averaging 10.43 corners per match. 9, 9, 17, 14, 13, 9, 11, 6, 14, 17 in their last 10. When you tell me Man United's averaging 13.10 per season or per game and 12 and over 12.5 is a plus 136, you got to take 11.5 and 12.5. I know it is a lot of corners, but I had over 5.5 I had over 5.5 corners first half Liverpool versus Man United. It hit in 20 minutes last weekend. I had this same 11.5, 12.5, 13.5, and it hit in 55 minutes in the Liverpool Man United game last weekend. If this is what the stats are going to tell me, I'm going to take it. Personally, I lean Bournemouth money line plus 140, but they burned me last weekend, so I'm not giving that out. Personally, I lean Dom Solanke anytime goal scorer plus 135 because he's done this against this team. He has 16 EPL goals, and dude's been excellent this year. And I think he plays in a style that doesn't suit Man United, especially when the fact that they have one senior center back fit, and he's a tall, lanky forward. What do you like?
I'm trying to digest all that corner information you just threw at me because the first thing I looked at was Bournemouth team total corners and the fact that it was not only higher than United, but it was at 6.5 just for the team. It's like, wait, that doesn't make sense. This is wrong. Why wouldn't I go under? But you've just absolutely blown my mind with
And
those stats.
United are giving up the most shots in the Premier League. Like they're
Yeah.
giving up a ton of shots that get deflected by a defender, tipped over by Onana. Like if 6.5 is plus money for Bournemouth, I think I think we take that because
Yeah. That's
I don't
wild.
see I don't see a scenario where they're at home playing on the front foot and they don't get 7 corners against Man United.
I think that's fair. Listen, they're at home. Eh, I have to feel that United get some sort of a bounce back performance. They've been kind of a roller coaster. They've been just kind of there. They're looking to get anything out of this season. I think they need to stack up some wins, and this could be a decent spot. I think they will have a little bit of revenge on their mind. And I got to say, I think Hoyland's been playing pretty well lately. I don't know really who else is going to help carry the load offensively. I think Fernandez has been pretty good also this year, but United draw no bet at even money, like just kind of jumped out to me. I
It's
feel
tempting.
like could it be a tie, right? I could see a draw plus 290 if you want to sprinkle a little bit there, but Bournemouth sitting as a favorite when history suggests, and obviously they're at home. I think that's a big advantage. Just it looks out of place. And I'm no United fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I just feel like United gets something out of this game. Even money's a really good number for draw no bet.
Definitely. No, I'm with you. And every time I try to say United are dead and they're not coming back, they're like that family in
It's
Game of
it's
Thrones. What is
this
dead
is
may
that
never
game
die.
where like
Yeah.
everything points to one direction and oh, United got a result. Okay.
Yeah. All right. I want to backtrack a little because I forgot this game is the first game of the weekend that I actually have action on, and it's my favorite game of the weekend. It's Atletico Madrid taking on Girona. I've been waiting for this. I've had this information circled to give out on this podcast. I almost gave it out the last time. Actually, I did give out a pick for this game the last time. I had the right idea and the wrong play. It's Atletico Madrid money line at plus 100. The line may have moved overnight, and I apologize if it did. It is Thursday morning when we give this out. I did my research on Wednesday.
Minus 105.
Girona, yeah, there we go. I still think this plays. Girona have not won a road game since January 28th when they beat Celta Vigo. They've lost their last four straight up. In that stretch, they lost to Real Madrid 4-0. They lost to Athletic Bilbao 2-0. They lost to Mallorca 1-0, and they lost to Getafe 1-0. Some of these things are not like the others. Obviously, going to Real Madrid and Athletic Bilbao and losing is fine. Mallorca do have a very good home field advantage this season, but Getafe are nothing special, in my opinion. I know Atletico are coming off the Champions League, but at the same time, um, they're I'm gonna take this. I'm gonna take this prop. And I don't know if I'm putting this in or not, but I saw the number of being good enough. Atleti team total over 1.5 at minus 128. That is hitting 17 of their 22 home games this season.
Okay.
Conversely, it's only hitting 7 of the 19 Girona away games. Um, so those two stats aren't exactly, they don't mesh
Interesting.
perfectly. But I mean, for I would say 2/3 of the season, Girona were one of the best teams in Spain. I think they've kind of fallen off,
Yep.
and that's why I'm attacking them right now because when you're losing to Mallorca and Getafe on the road, you're getting shut out. I'm very interested. Um, but yeah, my best bet of the weekend at Letty money line, 8:30 Saturday morning.
Yeah, listen, I like Atleti. I think they obviously had a pretty dominant performance. Well, I wouldn't say dominant. I think they had a little suspect second half, but a nice result against Dortmund yesterday in the Champions League. Obviously, a huge upset against Inter before that. Um, and they've been decently consistent this year. I feel like they went on a really big run in January, right? They were getting hot coming into Champions League, obviously advanced out of that, but then they throw in a couple of stinkers, and you kind of like, all right, what really is this Atletico team? They got smashed by Barcelona. They got smashed by Cadiz 2-0, that which was nuts. Bilbao. In the games that they lose, they don't score. That's really what worries me. So they're feast or famine. I mean, you threw out the really good stat on team total, but then they just have these inexplicable games where nothing happens. So to me, it's either like 2 goals or none. But at home, I think they're going to be pumped up after this Champions League performance. They were home for that, so they didn't have to travel, anything like that. I'm with you. I think maybe a little cheeky way to extract some more value out of this is do a Madrid parlay. Take Atletico money line with Real Madrid money line. That's currently at minus
Ooh,
140. Put them together, you have plus 235.
I love that.
That's probably the way I'm looking at this. I'm in a big money line kind of mood this week, and I think good way to get a little more out of Madrid too, because I can't imagine them dropping any points to Mallorca.
No, no. I do think that game will be better than advertised. Mallorca got to the Copa del Rey final. They gave a Athletic Bilbao, who are one of my favorite teams to bet on. You'll hear about them before this podcast is over. They gave them trouble last weekend in the Copa del Rey final, scoring first in that game. Also, one of their strikers has one of the best mustaches I've ever seen. Um, I I promise you, it will not disappoint. Go look it up. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think Real Madrid have got to be closing in on the title at this point. I don't remember what the point total is like, but they're gonna seal that thing eventually.
Yep. They'd rather do it
Let's
sooner than later.
Yeah, 100%. Let's jump to Sunday, 9 a.m. Liverpool taking on Crystal Palace. I hate Crystal Palace games. But it's a pretty simple bet. I'm taking it on Europa League day. So I will say the stat is Europa League hasn't happened as we record this. Liverpool and both teams to score plus 145. Both teams to scores hitting 7 straight Liverpool games. And the both teams to score at minus 116 is good enough to take it on its own. I know you're like, who's going to score for Crystal Palace? I assure you the Liverpool backline will do something stupid and they will give up a goal. They'll probably win the game 3-1. I mean, it took a Harvey Elliott 90+1 winner at Palace for Liverpool to get all 3 points there. So, um, wouldn't be shocked. I know Palace don't have a great record at Liverpool, and I think they've lost like 15 straight games or something like that. But they always play Liverpool hard. And we're in a gauntlet right now. You know what I mean? Everybody knows that Liverpool, Arsenal, and Manchester City are trying to win the title, and nobody's going to give
Mhm.
it to them easy. So, uh, pretty simple.
Yeah.
Oh,
Listen,
oh, sorry. One thing I will also say, follow my Twitter. probably find some kind of Darwin Nunez, Luis Diaz shot um, prop place because somehow every week I find value on Nunez and Diaz shots on target or shots in the game, and it hits like a lot. So keep an eye on that. We'll see what the lineup's like. I
Yep.
Diogo Jota, Allison, and Trent all back in training for Liverpool. So the full
That's
cast of
big.
the Avengers is back.
That's big. Yeah, this is a classic wait for the lineups game for me, especially because Liverpool's playing midweek, especially because of the injuries. But I think you could find value on some goal scorers. I think if if Darwin Nunez starts, he's always worth a look. I say it to you all the time. Like, give me 11 of this guy, man. He is just not the most polished finisher, but he runs non-fucking stop. His instincts are outstanding. Love this guy. Love everything he represents. Um, the lineups look good. I think Liverpool to score in both halves. It's minus 140. That's something you can stick in a same game parlay. I think that's okay. Again, depending on lineups, highest scoring half could be something to look at. If you believe they get off to a hot start, first half is plus 190. I usually err on the side of caution with that one, but just something to look at. And yeah, that's really kind of where I'm at. This is either a live bet scenario because you think Pool is getting off to a slow start and you can get a little bit of value, or you take a look, you like the players, you find something with either shots on target, goals or assists. Really depends on who's playing.
I'll give you one more name if he starts. Alexis McAllister goal or assist was plus 175 against United last weekend. And since 2024, and he returned from his injury, the dude has been on an absurd tear for Liverpool. And when you know Palace is going to sit in a low block and he's going to be playing those balls over the top to Salah, Diaz, Nunez, whoever, that assist, if you're getting his score or assist, I think anywhere over plus 165,
Yeah.
you're in a really good spot, in my opinion. Sunday parlay, 4 legs, 4 home teams, one team trying to bring home a title. It's plus 228. We talked about Liverpool that taking on Palace, they'll get the win. Arsenal home versus Villa, revenge against their former manager. I'm trying to think, keep moving at the top. If that's the leg that loses off this, apologies, but I'll be very happy. Um, Athletic Bilbao taking on Villarreal at home. They're like minus 150. But I think they get all things done against the Yellow Submarine. And last, and certainly not least, I had to find some way to make some money off this team. Bayer Leverkusen and over 1.5 against Werder Bremen. That's plus 228, 4 legs. And I will say, if Leverkusen are down at halftime, hammer it. Like that has been the strategy for weeks and weeks and weeks of late. Money making machine. I really hope they bring home a Bundesliga this weekend. I think it'd be something really special. Um,
Can they clinch it this week?
yes, with all three
Woo,
points.
good for
Yeah,
them.
because Bayern lost last weekend. Um, Another Bundesliga stat. The value was horrendous. Maybe one of the lowest totals I've ever seen, or maybe one of the lowest numbers I've ever seen for a goal scorer number. Girassi from Stuttgart has scored in 5 straight. He's at minus 170 anytime goal scored this weekend. Um, Not
That's like
touching that.
Haaland early in the year numbers.
I know. But I was on my like list of things to give out this weekend, and then there was no value. But uh, I'll ask you this before we end the podcast: if Leverkusen go invincible and win the Pokal and win Europa League, is it a bigger achievement in football than Leicester City winning the Premier League at 5,001?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah,
I would say so.
I tend to agree because Leverkusen sold their best player in the offseason. They sold Diaby to Aston Villa, reinvested, brought in Grimaldo, who nobody wanted. They brought in Boniface, who I don't remember if it was Europa League or Europa Conference League, was the top goal scorer, but at
Yep.
like Union Saint Louis, the Belgian side.
Mm,
Florian Wirtz, we knew he was good. Patrick Schick's been a guy who's been kind of passed around doing
yep.
whatever. And then they signed Granit Xhaka, who everybody was killing at Arsenal for being a nobody. And they've been magnificent. They have been appointment watching
Yep.
um television every week. And
And I
uh
think the impressive thing is, you can sneak up on people for only so long, right? You get off to a hot start the first 2 months, the first 3 months of the year. Well, now all of a sudden, can you sustain it? Now the book's out, the script has been written, everybody's pleased with this hot start. They've not only done it all year long, they've gotten more impressive as the year has gone on.
I think there's a real chance it's Liverpool Leverkusen in the Europa League final, and I don't love that matchup. I really don't, especially because Boniface just came back. They've been doing all this. Boniface was out like he missed AFCON, and for Nigeria, I think
Yeah.
he's been out like 3 months, 3 or 4 months, and they've
We
done
could
all
blame him
this.
for ruining my future. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I forgot you had a Nigeria future. Yeah. Well, I looked it up and I'll be posting about it. There's a date that I gave out Leverkusen at plus 650, but for those of you who know your football history, go look how the year 2002 ended for Leverkusen when they were potentially on point for a Champions League Pokal and Bundesliga treble, and they won none of them. So go look that up. It's a fun story. Thank you guys as always for watching, for listening. We appreciate it. You can follow Nick at Nick Dianni at KicksPicksPod. They do great stuff every week. Really nice podcast. And you can follow me at Andrew Passaro at the Plus Money Pod. And we'll be back next week with something. I'll probably just have videos as we get ready for second legs of quarterfinals. And the long stretch continues as I get ready to say goodbye to Jurgen Norbert Klopp. Thank you for watching. Let's stay positive, everybody. Bet responsibly, and we'll catch you next week.